Okay, here we are back for another episode of The Martial View, where we're going to be interviewing Cathy and Mick Dickinson today about their journey in martial arts, which is quite a varied one and a good history as well. So it'll be really interesting to chat to these guys. So thanks, guys. How are you both doing?
Good, really good.
We're fine.
Fantastic, cool. So we've got a 2-for-1 special interviewing you both today then. So let's start off just the most basic. How did you get started in martial arts?
Yeah.
Well, I was one of a big family, and I think Dad took us all. I had 5 brothers and me. And I think he took us all probably, we were always scrapping anyway, but for a bit of discipline and to let us let some steam off.
Sure.
So I started 45 years ago.
Wow.
In Shotokan karate.
Okay, yeah, perfect. How old were you then?
I would be about, I'm trying to remember because we used to change the paper in the license every year. Sure. The last one I've got was in 76, but I think I was about 16 when I first started.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Cool. What about you, Mick?
I was about 25 or 6 when I started. Probably quite a late
relatively late starter then, yeah.
Yeah. I was old. Yeah, I think with the usual, you watch the Bruce Lee films,
yeah.
And I remember we were sat in a pub in Cornwall, and these fights kicked off, and I thought, wouldn't it be really cool to really give these a good hiding and look good while doing it. and so as we came back from that holiday, in the paper that week was this advertisement for a beginner's course in karate, and I thought that was it, and that was how I started.
Perfect, fantastic. And what year was that then? Was that around what?
It would be about 85 or 6. That.
Okay, a little bit later then. So it's interesting you both started with karate then. Do you think that was just because it was what was mainly available at the time? It was one of the most popular at that time.
There was nothing else at that time. There was nothing else in the area, only karate. So
yeah, cool. And how long did you?
Still only is really.
Yeah. How long did you carry on with the karate then, Cathy?
Well, I was nursing, so back in the day, it was with Liverpool Red Triangle were our senseis, and you had to train 3 times a week just to maintain, really. And because I then went to become a student nurse, I couldn't, because of my shifts, I couldn't train 3 times a week. I did the best I could, but you couldn't really progress in your belt.
Sure.
So. Then I got married and had children, so that put the kibosh on things.
That's Mick's fault then.
Then. No, it wasn't actually. That was a different marriage.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Story that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me. I probably got going in karate and probably did that a year or 2, and then we moved on to. I didn't move on. In line with I did jiu-jitsu as well. Okay. Our instructor also did jiu-jitsu, so we did both together, and that ran along. And we still do it really. We still do both of them really.
So you found they kind of complemented each other quite well.
I thought they did. Yeah, very much so. So we did those quite. Still are doing them. Yeah. But as we progressed in that, I think we found part way along that. We wanted something for ourselves. We were teaching the jiu-jitsu and teaching the karate to our students, but we were sort of always looking for something for ourselves. So we started and learned kung fu as well then.
Okay, wow.
We met these guys through a competition, but we started. So we did the kung fu and we graded up through that, and kickboxing with Sean Vieira and people like that. And then that sort of came to an end, the kung fu.
Yeah.
That's another story, that one. Yes, that was why that ended.
Yeah.
Yes. So we did that. And still are doing the jiu-jitsu, like I say.
But we've always, you should look everywhere to keep training. You don't know what you want to do. It's a continual journey into it. It certainly is to me.
Definitely, yeah.
I've gone from a very traditional, harsh background, really, right through now to Russ's Meanstreets.
Sure.
And that is very much a change, even though we do carry on the tradition basics there. And that's where I found that's where I want to be. Absolutely.
Perfect.
And possibly you, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we started doing the traditional like everybody. But as we went along, we sort of not discovered this, but we found that it didn't just work on the streets the same, didn't the way we were taught it. I'm not saying traditional doesn't work, but the way we were taught it, and I'm sure a lot of people were taught that traditional block and punch, and it didn't really work on the streets.
Yeah.
And that was really why we did it, why I did it anyway, was for it to work in a real situation. So we started to look around for,
well, we'd finished
the secret to martial arts.
We'd finished the competitions. It served a very good purpose, and I'll never turn it back on tradition. We still employ it now. But we'd done the competitions, we'd done the katas, and we'd done very well there. But there was still something missing. Yeah. So we answered every advert, and we went to every seminar, several seminars, and enjoyed all of them.
Yeah.
And then about 5 years ago, I contacted Russ. Yeah. Which is the organisation we're with now.
Yeah, Meanstreets.
And luckily, he said we could come along and train with us.
Perfect.
And we did, and as you know, it's good stuff. So
it's good stuff. Yeah, cool.
However, saying that, through him, we've also met some fantastic other teachers as well, and we've trained with all of them, and we always will. Yeah. You keep looking around, don't you? And you have to, because through time things alter, and your strength and your capabilities alter. So it's always good to keep trying something else, I think, anyway.
Definitely, yeah, fantastic. What about you two meeting then? Did you meet through martial arts, or did you both happen to do martial arts and then you met, or? My
original club was in Preston, and I used to live in Preston when I was a nurse. Then I got married, and then I had children, both within like a year of each other. And then about 3 years after that, a friend of mine that lived across the road said, "Oh God, I feel so unfit, I want to do some training again." Well, my other club was in Preston, and we heard there was one in Garstang. So Joanne said, will you come with me, because I don't know what I'm doing? So I said, yeah, sure I will. Yeah. And he was already there at this club.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In fact, me and my husband at the time both trained there for a couple of years, didn't we, really?
Yeah, probably.
Fantastic.
And we broke up, and he moved on, and we just carried on. We did a lot of competitions together. We did a lot of travelling around, a lot of seminars together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the catalyst, really, wasn't it?
Mm.
Cool. Let's talk about the competition side a little bit then. So you both competed. Was this in like karate? Is that?
Yeah. Traditional karate, katas, and traditional fighting. Okay. And what we call like a Goshin Budo, we would call it in where we used to go. It's like a demonstration.
Yeah.
You do 5 defenses, 5 attacks. It's a demo, really, but
and it involves.
But it's like a competition, and you get up and you do
blocks, strikes, throws, takedowns, and finishing. And then, but it is very traditional. You start on the mat in a certain way, facing each other. You do the techniques, and you end facing, and you bow in and you bow out. It's still traditional. And the katas, of course.
Yeah, and weapons, katas occasionally.
Yeah, perfect. And you enjoy being on the circuit then, doing the competition?
Yes, absolutely.
Good,
Was there a particular aspect you liked more? Did you like the kata more? Did you like the choreography or the demos? Did you like the fighting side of it, or the sparring?
The sparring and for me, I did enjoy the kata, but I prefer the contact. So for me, the sparring. And we also joined, we also met some great people through the freestyle, and we got a bit more freestyle as well, and did some of those circuits. But we were getting older then.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, originally we were like, let's say, the traditional, sort of more the traditional style competitions. And then we moved across slightly to the WACO competitions.
Okay, yeah.
and around then there's like Sean Vieira, Nikos Memos, all those guys. So we trained with some of those. So we did a few sort of European and world sort of competitions in the WACO ones as well, which again are very much different from traditional ones.
Very
but you know, we tried to adapt to it slightly. So
it was really
but it was okay. It was good.
Good, yeah, okay. We've got a couple of questions then. So Rob's asked, for kind of both of you then, is there any competition fight that kind of stands out for you both, or that really solidifies in your memory as either something really good or something really bad?
For me, definitely. It was 1990 in Scotland in a traditional karate competition, and I got to the final against a guy called Gary Nellis, who for me was probably one of the best fighters I've come across. He was fantastic, and he's died, unfortunately. He's been dead a few years now. As I started doing the traditional competitions, he was a black belt when I started doing it, and he was fantastic. We used to watch him, and he was great. Nobody could beat him. And this particular competition, I'd been probably trained about 4 or 5 years at this point, and I met him in the final. I'd never beaten him before, and this was the final of the competition, and I fought and I beat him.
Nice.
And that was the first competition I ever won, and it was against him. So that made it even more memorable for me, and we were great friends after that as well.
Amazing. Yeah, cool story, definitely. What about you, Cathy? Is there any particular one that stands out, or?
Again, another link with Gary. So you used to have team fights, and back in the day, you tried to have one female on the team, but they stopped it since then. But anyway, so we had our team, the Garstang team, but they had enough. They didn't need me. So they chose Paul, this other guy, over me, and Gary, the Scottish team, were one short. So they said, will you come and scrap on our team? And so I was like, yeah, okay then. And we ended up in the final
against Garstang.
Against my own team.
We had never beaten the Scottish team ever. They've won us every time. And this particular fight, we were winning. We were leading it.
Until
it was one fight left.
Me?
And it was Cathy against one of our guys.
Okay, wow.
All depended on the last fight, and guess who won it?
Hey, yeah.
So there was a lot of jig going on, a lot of laughter. And
so Cathy walked home.
So that was only because it was good fun. It was good fun, but I've enjoyed all the competitive side. Loved it, always have.
Why did you stop? Was there a reason? Was it just time? Was it
because we were
I stopped. My last fight in competition was 5 years ago.
Okay.
And that
Crystal
was
Palace.
Crystal Palace in the Tiger World Championships. And that was my last fight. And that was traditional again. And we won that.
Yeah, we did.
And haven't been since. But I think the reason we haven't been back since was really because it was at the time we started doing the Meanstreets.
Sure.
And that was every month or so we got to train there, and they always seemed to coincide. And I'd rather do that now than I think my competing days are over at 56.
Sorry, just let me shut this door.
Yeah, no worries.
So that was the end of that. So I mean, not us, but many people still competing at 56 really. So
no, that's really good going. Yeah,
even though I'm 60 now, so I mean, I guess they're well over now. But
yeah,
I'm still sparring things, you know.
Yeah. This is actually one of the questions that Russ has asked. So he said, have your reasons for training changed over the years that you've been doing it? Like you both said that you've been kind of training for 45, kind of 40, 30, a long time now. Has it changed from when you first started to now? Have your reasons changed?
I think the reason's still the same. I think I did it for self-defense, and I still do it for self-defense.
Yeah.
But originally, I guess I did it for myself.
Okay.
Whereas now, I do it more for my students. Now I want them to be safe when they go out on the streets. You know, I do it. So I still train with whoever we see, whoever comes along, but it's done mainly Russell. But yeah, it's more for students rather than my personal gain now.
Cool. What about you, Cathy?
For me, originally, of course, it was to let off some steam and learn to fight, and that's still what I love. I still love getting down and having a bit of fun, but also my mental health as well. You know, in my job, there's a lot of pressure and things, whereas when you're in your teens, you don't care, you're just there to scrap, aren't you? Now it sorts my head out, and it's good exercise, it keeps us fit, and that's the main thing, really. That's what we're proud of more than anything, because I'd like to think I'm still as strong as fit, and people would argue that, but I would argue that back, as I was in my teens. Sure. You know, I'm still fighting the same, I'm still doing the same exercises, we're still taking on the same adventures and things. Yeah. So keep our fitness up and keep our heads straight as well.
Perfect. Just following on from that then, so you did your charity boxing match recently, yeah? When was that? Was that last year?
It was a
couple of years.
1.5 years ago. It was, yeah.
Year and a half ago, yeah. So what age were you then, if you don't mind me?
60.
60, yeah. So what kind of inspired you to do your charity boxing match at 60 then?
Well, number one, why wouldn't you? But because our friend Tony Pillage, who I believe you know, at the time he was ill, he was a good friend, and lots of people were doing different things. So as we became training for the white collar boxing, for me it was to raise money for Tony, because he was still alive and I told him I would, and at the time he said he'd be coming sit and watching me. But also it was another challenge because it was totally the opposite of how I've trained, you know, punching from the hip and kicking and grappling and choking, and of course you can't do any of that. Yeah. So it was a total different challenge and raising money, so and to keep fit. So why not?
Excellent. Yeah, good. No, good for you. Brilliant. Let's talk about the Meanstreets then. So that's obviously the association that you're twinned with now. You're teaching under Russ. What was it about Russ then that kind of made you go more towards him when you've been training with other people? You've done seminars before. You've got a good history in traditional arts and jiu-jitsu and stuff.
For me, yeah. I mean, you know, you been to lots of seminars with Jeff Thompson, Peter Constantine, all these sort of people, and they all show you lots of sort of techniques and you know, you do this, you do that. But for me, when we went to Russell, although he showed us techniques, he was giving us that mental side of the fight, what you needed to do, what you needed to say, what you needed to be, what happened in these situations, how to do, what to do if it went wrong. Where everybody else just showed you a technique, that's it. He will show you the technique, and then he'll follow it up with, if it goes wrong, this is what we do. If it goes wrong, this is what we do. Yeah. And we'd never had anything like that before. Yeah. So that for us, that was the game changer for us. Not for me.
And also, he's true to the streets, you know. I think he upsets a lot of people, and you've been to his seminars, because he says it as it is. Yeah. For me personally as well, there's none of this, well, you're a big bloke, so you go there, and you're a little girl, so I want you to try this. Sure. None of that, you know. I've said, well, I can't reach that. Well, then do that. You don't sit out of it. You carry on scrapping with the best of them, but he shows you where to adapt it. Yes, he does. And you know, you don't get special treatment. He just tells you as it is. And if you say, well, I can't do that, he will give you something else to do. He will adapt it. Whereas in a lot of tradition, blocks are blocks. They don't say, well, I know, but if he's 6 foot, there's no point doing an agyuki because you still won't block it. Yeah. That was the bit that worked for us. There's always a way to make it work.
Perfect. Excellent. And then you decided to become instructors under the Meanstreets system. So how long did that take? What was the process like? Any ups, any downs at that point?
No, there's never any downs, unless you got knocked down, of course.
Lots of that.
Plenty of that. Lots of fighting, lots of getting in the cage, trying to get people out of that cage.
Yeah.
It took us about 4 or 5 years to get. We just got our black belts with him.
Yeah.
About 5 years.
You know, there's none of this walking in. Man, we never did in any of our styles. With every style, we started from scratch, from white belt in whatever we trained in, and worked our way up, which is the way I believe you should do it. None of this, oh, you're a black belt in that. Oh, you can join in and be a black belt in this. When we went to Russ's, obviously you start from scratch. He doesn't, you know, he sees you as you are, not what belt you're wearing. In fact, we don't wear belt in Russ's.
Yeah. Cool.
But he teaches your mind. He tries to see how far you can take, which is, I love that kind of thing. And he supports you. It's not all stressful. It's good fun. You have a damn good workout. And we're not certainly never got bored of it, have we?
No.
And since we've started teaching it, you know, our students love it as well, and it's made a huge difference to some of our students.
And like Duncan Andrews, that does all the sort of law side of things, that's really good. And we've had David Hydra, Jimmy Kelly, Trevor Roberts, Ian Bromley, all these guys.
People would never have had the chance to train.
Yeah, some really high caliber guys there. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So, you know, we've trained with all those guys now. They all teach us something that's...
We've been really lucky.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, really good.
Perfect. And you obviously pass that down then to your students. So what made you guys decide to teach? Did you originally start teaching together? Did you teach separately? How did it work?
The guy that ran the club originally, my original instructor, he just decided to pick up his flute and go wandering around the world.
Right. Okay.
And off he went.
Okay.
So it was a case of, well, either you take it on or it dies. So well, we'll take it on then.
Crack on then, yeah.
There was some loyal students, wasn't there?
All the students wanted to carry on, so we just carried on.
Amazing, yeah, good. Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's how we came to it. So the club's been going to the longer than I have, really.
Yeah. And how do you class your teaching style then? Do you think you're quite strict teachers? Do you relaxed? What do you think makes a good teacher?
I think we were strict originally
in the traditional side of things,
but not so much now. We try to sort of tailor it individually to people now. Like as when you're at Russell's, you know, we don't say, right, this is what everybody has to do. This is you all punch exactly like this. You all block it, because everybody's different. You know, there's never two people can do the same thing exact. And so we try to tailor things to that each individual as they come along and tell us they can't do something, well, do it like this. You know, we'll show them techniques, but we let them adapt it to their sort of physical capabilities.
We still do the basics, and we still do the katas and techniques. And in that, yes, we're strict, because there's certain way to do it and present it, and the bowing and everything else. We still carry that on. But like I said, yes, we adapt it to the individual. However, when they're fighting, you've obviously got to keep it, you know, it's harsh stuff. You've got to be there. You've got to be present and keeping an eye on things. And they've got to know to stop, especially the younger ones, the highly spirited people, shall we say. You've got to be there keeping an eye on them, making sure it doesn't get carried away, nobody's getting hurt. I'm not talking about bumps and bruises, but obviously we're still strict on when we say stop, you stop. Yeah. And you know, when we're talking, you listen. There's no running around while we're teaching things. But yes, it's a very soft diversion from the old traditional way that we used to. I think
you have to know your students and what they're capable of and what they're not. Over the years, we've had quite a few people come who've been sort of with various disabilities, should we say. And one particular lad, he used to come, and his carer came with him. He was about maybe 21, but he was mentally about 14. And his carer came with him, and nobody. He used to have epileptic fits. Any form of stress would make him have a fit. Yeah. Playing pool, he would have a fit if he was anything like that. And he came to us and I thought, oh. This could be hard work if there's a fit every time we start. And, you know, he never had one fit all the time he trained. I don't know why. I don't know why. Nothing I did, I don't think. He just never had, when he trained, and he would fight and he would wrestle and in nothing. And it was amazing.
But tell him about the situation when he phoned you up.
He would take absolutely, if I showed him a technique, as far as he was concerned, that would work anywhere, anytime.
Okay.
And we'd be doing sacrifice throws one day and sweeps, just competition type sweeps on the and he rang me up this particular day and he said there's 3 guys and they're trying to get me, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? He says they're coming down the street now and they're going to get me. What should I do? I said, just turn your phone off and get gone before they get to you. Don't let them get there. And then phone goes dead, and he rings me back. He said, it's okay, I've sorted out. He said, I swept one of them with this spinning sweep and sacrificed through the other one down the main street in Lancaster. I'm like, there were 2 techniques I would never have used in a street fight, but he made them work.
But you made them work for you. Cool. That's what it's all about. So fair enough.
So, so he was, but but you have to know people's limits. And him, he was, even though he was sort of, he had problems, he was so strong. It was unbelievable how strong he was.
Yeah.
And with another guy the same now, and he's very similar. Unbelievably strong, but no coordination. If you say run, he'll fall over. So we have to adapt. We have to adapt warm-ups if he's there, because he can't do certain things, and it's just no use to students. Really.
But it works for him. What he's doing, it works for him. Yeah, enjoys it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. Have you seen a change in the industry then over the past, 10, 20, however many years? Do you think it's changed in certain areas? Do you think it's changed for the better, changed for the worse? What's your thoughts on it?
I think it's definitely changed self-defense wise.
Mm-hmm.
I think up to 10 years ago, it was how it had always been with us, the blocks, I think that was, and then I think the likes of Russell and Scott, people like that came along and started changing it, and I think definitely for the better. And I think even a lot of the traditional styles now have realised that they have to adapt and apply it correctly now, the techniques they're doing.
Well, even traditionally it's changed, because my brother stayed training with the KGB, whereas I left it with the same people, Andy Sherry and that lot, and even katas, there's changes in the kicks. What used to be a side thrust kick now is a kick into the air, because whoever takes it on, whoever's teaching, changes it slightly for their best thing. So if they're not a side thrust kicker, but they can kick high in the air, all of a sudden the kata, it's a kick high in the air. And a lot of techniques have changed, because he'll still come down and train with us, and he'll say, "Oh no, Cathy, you do it like this now." I think, oh, right.
Okay.
No, I'm not bothered about that, because we should all train to our own strengths anyway. But even traditionally, I think a lot's changed. And obviously, when sport karate came in, they probably thought that was a massive change from the tradition anyway. Certainly, the point system. But I mean, you go with the flow, and you go where you want to go. And if you want to stay with one particular type, well, there's no harm in that. There's certainly a lot of politics in it these days that never seemed to be in it back in the day in the 70s.
Or maybe it's just more prevalent now, because you've got things like Facebook and social media. Everything's a bit more to the forefront, isn't it? We didn't have that kind of 10, 20,
more
30 years
businesses now. Anyway, it wasn't. They weren't all businesses. I mean, obviously they brought money in, but they weren't businesses like they are now with it.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Like the idea of martial arts and business, do they go hand in hand? Is it?
I don't care. What I care about is not teaching something that doesn't work. I don't care about people adapting it to themselves. I don't care about, it depends what you want. Once over, I loved kata. Now it doesn't bother me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want changes. What bothers me is people passing techniques that work when you know fine well that they don't work.
Yeah.
that does, especially when people are paying money and trusting you to be passing on good. And standards are always going to be different, and I understand that. But personally, that does upset me that people are passing substandard work off. If you're just doing it for your own fun and for your own pleasure and for your own fitness, that's fine. But passing it on as a working technique is wrong in my book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, finish off with then. So what are some of your proudest moments, do you think, in martial arts over your whole careers?
Obviously getting your black belt is always the big one, isn't it? That's all you lived for, isn't it, at the beginning? Getting to the black belt, isn't it? I don't know, really. I think getting my black belt with Russ was a
huge thing.
A big privilege.
Because he doesn't give them out willy-nilly.
And then last year at the awards, we got the Club of the Year in the North.
Perfect.
Cathy was Woman of the Year.
Well done.
So they were really big honours for us. Yes, great.
Fantastic.
For me, I mean, you know, I'm not dissing it. I'm very proud of all that. But people can buy black belts, and you can. There's very much, you know, if I go to your seminar, you come to mine, and you recognise me, and then I'll recognise you. So that not so much for me. I'm proud of Michael because he can still hold his own with 20-year-olds. He can still do the best cutters, do the best fighting. He hasn't changed at all. And for somebody in his 60th year, I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of both of us for maintaining our standards and maintaining what we're capable of doing. Because a lot of people give up along the way, even in the 30s and 40s, if you go for it. Yeah. Well, as long as you maintain your fitness, there's no reason why you can't continue it. Bearing in mind your injuries and things, why shouldn't you continue? So I am actually proud of us for continuing and not giving up.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, we got a lot of people. I mean, Cathy did like I say, in her 60th year, did the boxing, and everybody talks to like it's some sort of
like it's different,
like it's amazing. But and it is, but to us, that's normal, and it should be normal. It should be normal to everybody.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be like suddenly everybody gives up at 35 and 40 years old and doesn't do it anymore.
Retires,
You just go and sit down in the house and do nothing. You should keep moving, keep training. In some, don't have to train in martial arts, any training, any sort of, you know, fitness, resistance training, and keep that. It should be normal. You should be able to move around at 60 still the same. It's
unless you've got underlying conditions or injuries. However, we've been told, you know, you see students and they go, I'd come back, you know, but I've got a bad back. Well, get it seen to and then come back or work round it. You know, the reason you've got a bad back could also be because you're not moving at all. Yeah. Get it diagnosed, perhaps get it fixed if you can. And if you can't, let's work on strengthening it up the best you can. Yeah. You've no reason to stop until you can't move anymore in anything, I don't think. Yeah. But maybe that's just us.
No, that's a good mentality. I think that's awesome. Yeah, and definitely a good thing. I think for people. It's too easy to pick up martial arts and drop them nowadays. And I think it's that pick up, put down mentality, isn't there? So it's good to see people.
Yeah, definitely.
Because and I do think and you know, I might annoy some people, but I don't care. You can easily get a black belt in a year. What's that about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I've had people training with us for a year, go to a different club, and all of a sudden the third dan. How come? How come?
Yeah.
You know, that's not what we're after. When we say train, we mean train hard and keep pushing and keep looking for your weaknesses and keep looking for better people to train with all the time. That's what we're about, isn't it?
Mm.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much then, guys. That was good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Right. Thank you very much, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.